You have to do what? Raise a constitutional issue. If you don't raise a constitutional question, then I'm sorry, it may not go anywhere. And another significant incident, or event, that was sending the man to the moon. Our leader called that, he said that it gave the spirit, done something for your human spirit, your human potential. So when you saw yourselves doing, putting a man on the moon, hey, now you feel your ego. Now you knowing that, hey, you can do something even greater than that. Now, so can you, as African Americans. We can do something greater than that. But let me kind of share with you a setback that we had as a people. Something that I think that's very relevant to our early development, that I think was a wrong that was did, a wrong that needs to be righted. But we can't right the wrong if we don't know what we was wrong. You can't right it if you don't know it. And that was in the late 1980s. The FBI federal report through the Freedom of Information Act was made available. But prior to being able to receive these documents through the Federal Information Act, Federal Information Act, that's a way in which that you can get information that the government might have wrote on you, or maybe some other state institution that wrote on you. It's freedom of information. Freedom of information, right. I got it wrote right here. Freedom of Information Act, you're right. Thank you. Also, an article appeared in the Detroit Free Press. This was in March 8, 1983. And it talks about the new rules and guidelines to take effect on March 21st, 1983. And it goes on to say that the first rule authorized the federal government to have information, authorize the federal government to have infiltrators, infiltrate, or informants, infiltrate groups doing preliminary inquiries, even when there is not yet reasonable indictment, indication of criminal activities. The second goes on to say that the rule permits the FBI to continue low-level monitoring by informants of groups that have become dormant and pose no threat, immediate threat or harm. And the fourth allows the FBI, if the Privacy Act, you all know about the Privacy Act, but it kind of like sprouted the issue at that particular time. If the Privacy Act is not violated, to collect public available information on groups or individuals who are not under investigation. And the fifth rule kind of cleared the way for Homeland Security, called at that time Domestic Security. The FBI Federal Investigation reported. Now, under the Freedom of Information Act, the FBI released a document. And releasing this document, it said, upon the death of Honorable Elijah Muhammad, it said that three things, or four things, that what they expect should happen. But first, they wanted the Chicago Bureau of Investigation to take the lead in this. And taking the lead in this was a way for them to reopen any federal investigation that had been closed. But the intentions were to use it to destroy the works and the economic progress of our people in the community. Unfortunately, it happened, but it wasn't enough of us with our eyes open to sound the alarm. And those who were around trying to deal with it, they were so busy trying to put out the fire. Sometimes when there's a fire, you have to get busy, man. You have to start throwing water on it, doing something. Otherwise, it's going to get out of control. So, if you throw water on something, you ain't got time to go over here to do this and go over here to do that. But for those who do know and those who do see it, it's your obligation and duty and responsibility to sound the alarm. And the report said this. It said that upon the death of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, we need to know if he left a will. We need to know who the bank accounts was in. We need to know who the names of properties was in. We want to know who the leaders were. We want to know what was their strengths and what was their weaknesses. Now that was a plot, a scheme to undermine us as a community. In fact, if you look at the way that it unfolded, it was actually a violation of our rights. It was a violation of our human rights as well as civil rights. But the world never got the opportunity to see the truth. Why? Because it was covered up. And God, in His infinite wisdom, we will be vindicated. And we're on the road to recovery. This day, we're on the road to recovery. We have Mosque, we have his ministry. And through Mosque and his ministry and works, we can redeem ourselves. But if you allow yourselves to be disconnected at this particular time, then you know what? We fall into the same old trap that we fell into back in the 80s. You say they want to know who your leaders were. What were their strengths and what were their weaknesses? Because upon the death, they believed that factionalism would take place. It would divide. The big head ministers, they get ambitious. And they want to do something to prove themselves worthy to be carrying the torch. You had Silas. You had others. Now, today, you got the same going on. Got the same going on. You can't continue to thrive in this kind of economy, going it alone, or try to row this boat by yourself. This is a big boat.
That's right, brother.
And if you're serious about going somewhere, then I advise you to grab one of these oars and let's row it together. And I guarantee you, if we're trying to get 10 miles from here, if we do it together, I guarantee we probably get there in less than 3 seconds.
That's right.
But if you fragment it and you divide it, then it's easier for them to come in and pick you off one by one. Just as you may sit informers in here, they got informers among you. You think you're safe.